All right, so here we are live once again. Sorry I haven't gotten any videos done this week, but it's been a crazy week. And honestly, while I have a lot of stuff to open, I have a lot of stuff that I can't open yet, or at least that's how it has been for like the past week or so. So, for example, I had a few of the new superpowers figures. They're stacked over there, uh, and I wanted to open those, but I wanted to wait till I had all four of the ones that I was going to buy. I'm also hoping to get that Fleischer Superman figure, but that seems more like a chase figure. So I was more concentrating on like the four new characters that had been introduced. That'd be Booster Gold, Guy Gardner, uh, uh, Metamorpho, and technically not a new character, but the black costume version of Black Manta. He'd be a new character to a lot of people. Of course, I'm lucky enough I actually have the first release of Black Manta. Not a lot of people do, so lucky me. And most of my waking time today, besides working, is I went up to Buford to go to the GameStop at the Mall of Georgia because I had to pick up the Riddler from Batman Forever. So I had the on. There it goes. I just had to reset it. So so yeah, my one day off this week was Tuesday, and I went to the GameStop the closest to my house, and they had from Batman Forever, they had Batman and Robin and Two Face. So I had pre-ordered those from Big Bad Toy Store. Normally, I pre-order a lot of stuff from Amazon, but they never got those in at Amazon. At least not when I can get them. If they did, they like must have sold out like immediately. B, Amazon has been really jerking me around with my pre-orders lately, and they keep pushing stuff back, and it's getting really annoying. So, so, so I had pre-ordered those from GameStop or from a Big Bad Toy Store, but they already had them in at GameStop. So I figured, well, I might as well just cancel that pre-order and go ahead and pick them up here. And I wound up using the money that I had set aside to, I was holding on to it so that I could you know, just pay off of that particular card with that money. So I just used that for buying the other figures since that was what I was going to spend that money on anyway. Anywho, I couldn't open those yet because, for one thing, I didn't want to open all four at once, like I usually like to do with a group of figures like that. But since it has a Build-A-Figure piece in it, uh, you know, I didn't want to open three figures and have a bunch of loose Build-A-Figure pieces because the Riddler is the one who comes with the main body. So if the Riddler had been one of the figures I picked up, I might have gone ahead and opened them up. But since I didn't have anything to attach the figure pieces to, I figured it was probably best not to. So I've got two groups of four figures that I want to open like all together, like one after another, 4 consecutive days. So I obviously can't do that anymore because now it's gotten so late in the week that I'll be lucky to do 2 videos. Thankfully, I do have some other single stuff to open that I don't require, opening 4 things in a row. So I'm going to do Batman Forever next week. And the week after that, I will do Superpowers. But for now, I do actually have something really cool to open up for you because I have the Mcfarlane DC Multiverse Batman from the classic Batman television series. Got the logo right there. Now, of course, Mcfarlane has a whole line, and if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've seen plenty of them. A whole line of Batman classic television series figures, but those are in a 6-inch scale, And this is the 7-inch scale that Mcfarlane figures usually come in. There's a nice picture of Adam West as our hero on the back. And it's strange, it seems to me like this is a picture that was like a black and white picture that they colorized. But I know I've seen this picture in color before, so I'm not sure why they did that. And of course, I have the 6-inch figure, so we can compare and contrast those, and a few other figures that I'd like to compare this bad boy to. So there are a couple of things that I'm going to point out about this package, since it's basically the typical DC Multiverse package we're used to, but it does have some things on it. Like I said, it's got that Batman classic TV series logo on it with the green flash behind it, like we often see on merchandise based off of the 66 television series. But we also have this little flash here, which says Retro Sweepstakes. Enter for your chance to win a limited edition replica cowl. Get your entry card inside. You can see that that is behind Batman there. And then it's got another QR scanner code over here at the side. It says, enter for a chance to win a limited edition replica cowl based on the classic Batman TV series. Get your entry card inside. Scan for more information. Now, I can't really do that right now because I'm using my phone to shoot this video. But I'll do it later and let you guys know at some point. I'll mention it in a future video. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you like, subscribe, and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and Adam West Batman in general. I did that a little early this time. So let's go ahead and open them up, because I'm looking forward to this figure for a long time. I've been hoping that they would do this figure for a long time. Now, of course, I do love the 6-inch figure line they've been doing. I've got like tons of those, but I was still hoping that at least Batman himself, hopefully we would see him in the Multiverse line, and I'm hoping they'll do some more. It'd be great to have Robin, but because it's the Adam West Batman, you gotta have Robin to go with it. How can you just have the Adam West version of Batman without the Burt Ward version of Robin? He's not the dynamic Uno. This ain't Michael Keaton Batman that's like an homage to the 1939 version of the character. All right, so let's go ahead and, unfortunately, the card is not on a separate bubble from the stand. There's the figure stand. It is the typical Mcfarlane DC Multiverse figure stand, a matte black figure stand with a glossy DC logo embossed onto it. And then we have our Retro Sweepstakes card. Unfortunately, there is no standard trading card for this, but it does have an image of Batman on the back. This is some of the artwork that we oftentimes see on merchandising packages. I believe it was drawn by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who does a lot of the model sheets and stuff like that. So it says, enter for a chance to win a limited edition cowl based on the classic Batman, blah, blah, blah. Other amazing prizes. How to enter: scratch the above to reveal your one-time entry code, scan the QR code, and follow the directions to enter the sweepstakes. So I'm going to do that because, you might as well. And I'd like to have a Batman cowl, even though it looked funny with my beard, wouldn't it? But I can't do it right now because I'm using my phone to shoot the video, so we'll come back to that. And he does have one of the newer, fancier wired capes. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Let's go ahead and get the accessories out. So we have a Batarang, very close to how the Batarang looked on the television series. And it's got a little hole in there, so you can attach a bat rope if you want to, but it does not come with its own bat rope. And then we have the bat transmitter. Now, this is a piece of equipment that's come with a lot of the 66 figures so far. I feel like this one's a little oversized. And the one that comes with the regular 66 figures is a little oversized. If you want something a little more accurate, I would say probably use the 66 figure with the 66 transmitter with this figure. I would think that would be a little more appropriately sized. I don't know if I have that over here on my big pile of stuff that I need to clean up. I'm going to do that tomorrow. I actually got myself a bin to put all the superpowers type figures that I have up here. So I got a lot of those. I can fit some of the other figures that I have stacked over here into other bins that I have for storage or shelves or whatever. So he's got double rubber tabs around each of his forearms. I don't know why they're using so many double rubber tabs these days. And it looks like that's the only rubber tabs that we have on him. I don't see any on his legs at all. Just the ones on his forearms. Oh, and we do have some of the extra hands. So let's go ahead and get those out too. So here is a pointing left hand. And here is a right hand that also is pointing, but I notice this one is pointing with more of a curved finger and the thumb extended. And this one, it's curved. It is curved, but it's curved in like the opposite way. It's curved up instead of down, and you see the thumb is folded in with the rest of the other fingers. He's got two gripping hands that are default on the figure. And then, and this is something that you definitely want to have for an Adam West Batman. Oh, look at this. You know what that is. That's his Batusi hands. So we can get him into a Batusi pose. All right, so now I have all the accessories out of here. I'm going to very carefully try to remove this figure without getting the cape hung up onto the packaging at all. So first I'm going to pop his head out. And then I'm going to try to hold the cape in and try not to let it rub up against this packaging any more than I have to. And it didn't get caught on anything, so that's good. Now, the thing that I wanted to discuss with this figure is that his cape is huge. And if this was any other version of Batman, I would be very pleased to have this ginormous cape on him. But if we're being real about it, the Adam West version of Batman, his cape actually wasn't that long. Like, you can see this thing is like trailing well past his feet. If they did a Neil Adams comic book version of Batman, this would to me be like the perfect length of a cape. And in fact, it could probably be a bit wider because it doesn't spread out quite as wide as a Batman cape normally does. Like, but it's still like a very big, impressive cape. And like I said, on most versions of Batman, that would be a good thing. But Adam West didn't really have that long of a cape. It basically came down to almost to his ankles, but not quite. It was a pretty short, for what you think of a Batman cape as being, it was pretty short. So but they weren't really doing like a longer Batman cape like that in the comics at the time either. It was really, like I said, Neil Adams was the guy who really popularized drawing Batman with like a long cape. And then other artists such as Bernie Wrightson or Walt Simonson or especially Walt Simonson. He really liked to give Batman a ridiculously long cape. When I was a kid and I'd see Batman drawn with these like really unrealistically long capes, like I just took it too literally, and I'm like, they draw his cape so long, he's gonna be tripping over it and stuff. But it's just the sort of thing that artists do when they're trying to make the character look all dramatic and everything. So one of the inaccuracies about this figure that carries over from the 1966 line is that this is not quite the right shade of blue, I feel like, that they have on Batman's cowl and boots and trunks and boots, gloves, all that kind of stuff. For one thing, it's kind of a flat, it's not necessarily matte, but it's not a shiny kind of blue. And really, it should be kind of shiny because it's supposed to be this sort of satiny material. I kind of feel like the way they have the fabric they used for the cape is perfect as far as like it's maybe even a little too shiny, but it's got that kind of sheen to it that the Adam West cape and cowl had. And it's that kind of like I was talking about when we did the unboxing of the Space Batman. He's got that sort of it's on the more the bluish side, or with the cape and the I'm sorry, the boots and the cowl and all that stuff. It's more on the bluish side, and this cape is a little more on the purplish side. It's still well within the range of being blue, but it's just not quite as you know blue as the rest of the blue on this figure. And I feel like it's a little too blue. It should be like a little more purple. Like I said, maybe about like a 70-30 blue to purple ratio, I think would be about right. Other than that, the colors are all pretty accurate. It looks like it's about the same shade of gray that I remember seeing, at least on some of the suits on the show, and the yellow seems pretty close. You can see that like on the figures on the 6-inch scale versus the 7-inch scale one, that the colors match up pretty well. The gray is slightly darker on the multiverse version, but only slightly so. And I don't think one is more accurate than the other in regards to that, because like I said, there would be like different shades of gray on different bat suits that he would have throughout the run of the show. I think that the likeness of Adam West is really good on both of them, but I think the cowl is a little more accurate on the 66 version actually versus the multiverse version. It's got the seams in the right place, and the black portion of his cowl, the mask part that they have painted. Let's see if we can get that focus a little bit. I don't know if you can really see that on screen, but there you can kind of see it. See how the seam actually kind of goes through the black part there? Which on this version, they actually have like a seam where there is the black part, and there wasn't actually a seam on the cowl in on the television series as far as the black part goes. The black part was just painted on. The seams just went down the sides. So this version is more accurate, where you can see they just kind of painted over the seams as it should be. There shouldn't be a seam where the black part of the cowl is. That's just painted on. And likewise, I kind of feel like the way they did his ears, how do I describe this? They're a little too high up on his head, and that's, you can kind of see like where like the head kind of curves in, and then the ears go straight up. But if we look at the actual picture here, we can see that the ears just kind of come straight up like that. But on this one, it kind of curves a little bit and then comes straight up. So it's not quite as accurate as it could be as far as the way the cowl is sculpted. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't like I said, I think they got it a little more accurate with the 6-inch figure. So they should have just done this, but like slightly bigger, instead of like doing a whole new head sculpt that isn't quite as accurate. That's a strange thing. But this 66 figure is like dead on accurate as far as like most of the sculpting goes. The main liberty that they took is that they sculpted in the bat on the buckle, whereas it was more sort of etched into the one on the television series, and it had that little outline on the buckle also. But I suppose that was just like maybe an easier way to do that than actually doing a separate paint application, like having two slightly different shades of gold on there. We'll just put like a little bit of a relief on it. But the boots and the gloves and everything look pretty much exactly like how they looked on the old television show. I would say, like I said, just because of the way the cowl is done, this one is a slightly more accurate sculpt than the multiverse version, which is a little disappointing, if I'm being honest, because you would think that with the multiverse version, that would be the one where they would really bring it and have like a lot of the more realistic details. But if anything, it's slightly less accurate than the 66 figure they already made. So that is unfortunate. But that having been said, this is still so far. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of this figure. So I'm not trying to come down too harshly on it. I'm just saying, like as far as the accuracy goes, I'm gonna have to give this one a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. Whereas this one would be like a solid 10. I'm talking just in terms of the sculpting. If we take into account the paint job, I would say that this one, then this one would be an 8 and this one would be a 7. Because like I said, the colors aren't 100% as far as the blue goes. Everything else is really good, but the blue is just not quite the right shade. And like I said, the tops trading card, the lunchbox version, that one actually I felt like was more accurate to the color scheme of the television series. But that's just me. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the articulation on this guy. So, like I said, if you want to count this as articulation, he does have the wires in the cape, so that can give you some good posability to it. The cape is a bit large as far as like an Adam West Batman cape goes. I'm not trying to harp on that too much. It's not really a complaint. I like for Batman to have a nice big cape. It's just like if there was any cape if there was any Batman you could get away with giving him a shorter cape, it would be this one. So Batman can look up about that far. He can look down about that far. Tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. Got really good head articulation. Of course, it rotates all the way around. Really, he's got that good ball joint on there, so you can move around whichever way you want. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around to the shoulder. Gotta watch out for that cape, though, bumping into that. He's got the butterfly joints, so his arms can move back about that far and forward about that far. He does have a bicep swivel, so the bicep rotates all the way around. He does have double jointed elbows. That's about the range of motion we get at the elbows. That's going to come in handy later when we do that Batusi pose. So that's nice. And then, of course, his wrists rotate all the way around, and they're on the cool Mcfarlane ball joint, so we can really move those whichever way we want to. So you can get a lot of good dramatic poses out of that wrist. While we're at it, let's go ahead and have a look at these accessories. So here he is holding the Batarang, getting ready to hurl it at an evildoer. Very cool. Batman's signature weapon. I've talked before how I kind of feel like Batarangs were something that were kind of neglected throughout the history of Batman figures, and of all companies, it was actually Toy Biz that gave us the innovation of actually giving Batman a Batarang with their 1989 Batman line, and something we didn't really even see that much with the Kenner Batman figures, which is kind of disappointing. So, but yeah, you can get a really cool Batarang pose out of them. So that's really neat. You could probably even if you had a tree or something, kind of hang him off of a tree and give him that pose of the old Aurora model kit. That might be fun. All right. So, and then let's go ahead and have a look at him with the transmitter, the Bat transmitter. Confound it! The batteries are dead! Remember when he was using it to get rid of to blow up the torpedoes before it hit the buoy that him and Robin were attached to? But there he is holding the transmitter. And like I said, it's a little oversized. I don't think most people would mind, but I notice it's a little oversized. So we'll go ahead and set that aside for now. Let's go back to talking about the articulation. So he does have, of course, the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation, so we can move that any which way we want to. Very cool. Does not seem to be waist articulation, but since you can move his torso around, the upper part of his torso around any which way you want to, the waist articulation isn't really that missed on this figure, I don't think. So especially because the sculpting of the figure, it's very accurate to Adam West. As you looked on the television show, it's got that sort of softer look of the old school spandex. And of course, Adam West, some people have described him as being paunchy, and I disagree. Adam West was actually a dude who was in pretty good shape. Certainly better shape than I'm in, but in the 1960s, he would have been considered an athletic looking dude. If you look at old pictures of, like, say, Johnny Weissmuller as Tarzan, and, like, you can see that kind of the trend towards a male physique was more sort of like that sort of supple sort of look, not necessarily like being like really lean and cut. This was definitely in a pre Hugh Jackman era. And in fact, if you look at Hugh Jackman in the first X-Men movie, he still kind of has that sort of supple look like I'm talking about. But yeah, with the old spandex type costumes and everything, the muscles get kind of compressed, and it gets that kind of soft look like he had on the television show. A little bit more so than Christopher Reeve, I think. I think they bulked Christopher Reeve up a bit more than they did Adam West. Darth Vader was his personal trainer. David Prowse. So that's how Christopher Reeve was able to get into cape shape. But I do feel like it's an accurate representation of Adam West's physique as he appeared on the show. But my point is, since he doesn't have like these washboard abs like a lot of superhero figures have, that kind of helps with the whole how the torso looks when you move it around, and it still kind of looks right, even though like the abs wouldn't really line up like that. So you don't really miss the waist articulation, is what I'm saying. Anyway, Batman can kick up about that far, so not actually that far. These joints are really stiff too. So, he probably could fit in a Batmobile if you wanted to put him in a Batmobile, if you had one that's big enough for this particular Batman to fit into. Of course, the only Batmobile that I have in, scale with 7-inch figures is the 1989 Batmobile, but I could put him in it if I wanted to, couldn't I? The 1989 Batmobile is my favorite Batmobile, with the exception of the 1966 Batmobile, which I like in equal measure. I can't choose between those two. They're both just so great. So he's got the double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you're going to get at the knee. And then, of course, he's got the cool Mcfarlane ball jointed ankles. Ankle points down about that far, points up about that far. Great range of motion on the ankles. And of course, since it's got the rocker on both ends, you can really get whatever kind of pose you want to out of that ankle. And right now, the pose I want to get him into is the Batusi. So let's go ahead and put them Batusi hands on there. And much like with the other two hands, the two pointing hands, these hands are not identical. They're not like they actually bothered to sculpt two different Batusi hands and two different pointing hands when they probably could have just mirrored it digitally, and I don't think anybody would have complained. So kudos to them for putting a little bit of extra effort in there. But you can see that this hand, these two fingers, the pinky and the ring finger, they're both kind of extended somewhat on this one, whereas this one it's a much tighter. They're both, and the thumb is bent in like that. So they both have the thumb bent in, but one of them has it over those two fingers, and the other one has the two fingers kind of curved up like that. And yeah, anyway. So let's go ahead and see if we can get him into that classic Batusi pose. And I gotta imagine I will be able to do it, since we've got the great Mcfarlane wrist articulation. It's almost as if these wrists were designed to do that classic pose. Oh, this is so cool looking. Very nice. Why doesn't Batman dance anymore? Don't you remember the Batusi? And of course, fans of Pulp Fiction remember the Batusi, because that's the dance that John Travolta actually does when he's at Jack Rabbit Slim's. So there we go. Mike Allred, I've mentioned several times as being the artist of the covers for the Batman 1966 comic book, and also illustrated the last issue himself. But But the first 1966 Batman comic was actually Mike Allred's issue of Solo, which had the story Batman a Go-Go in it, which is an excellent comic book story, a lot darker than you would expect out of a 1966 kind of Batman story. But I don't want to spoil too much of it for anybody who hasn't read it. But he had a cover. His original cover that he wanted to have was going to be Batman in the Batusi pose, but DC editorial would not allow it. As a compromise, he was able to do a cover with Donna Troy, Wonder Girl, dancing in the Batusi pose. But they did reprint the illustration with Batman doing the Batusi pose inside of the comic. But I still feel like it should have been the cover. I kind of feel like DC was being a little overprotective of the character. You got to kind of embrace the silliness of the 1966 Batman television show. That's kind of the point of it and everything. So, but but yeah, that issue was really good. Solo just was a really good series in general. I really liked most of the issues of it, but the ones that I always think of is Darwin Cook, a legend we lost too early, the man behind New Frontier, one of my favorite comics of all time. Paul Pope, where he did his remake of Jack Kirby's original OMAC comic. That's some excellent stuff. And of course, Mike Allred's issue. There was a few other good ones like Damon Scott, and I don't remember who all else. That might have been all of them actually. But you know, Mike Allred's was probably my favorite just because of the Batman 66 story. But there was a lot of other cool stuff in there too. So if you're a guy like me who's a big fan of the Adam West version of Batman specifically, and like he's probably my favorite live action version of the character, he's definitely one you're going to want to pick up. And I think a pretty good Batman figure in general, although not quite as serious minded as some other figures. Speaking of which, let's compare him to some of the other Mcfarlane Multiverse figures. First of all, I have the Nightfall Batman, that kind of excellent Bronze Age version of Batman. That's what he looks like next to that. And as far as live action versions of Batman go, here he is next to the Michael Keaton version of Batman, who did not come with Batusi hands, of course. And lastly, the Ben Affleck version of Batman. So that's my three favorite live action versions of Batman. Definitely pick this guy up if you can. He's really awesome. And any Batman collector should definitely have this as part of his collection. That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, sorry about the wait. I'll be back tomorrow to open up another DC Multiverse figure, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. You're just going to have to tune in and find out. And then, of course, next week, starting Monday, I'm going to be doing the Batman Forever wave, starting with the Riddler, since he comes with the torso of the figure. But that's it for this one. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. All the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this figure and the character of Batman in general, specifically the Adam West version of Batman, since this is the Adam West version of Batman. We will talk to you next time. Bye.